Today in our show, Tottenham is preparing a record €100 million for Savinho, while simultaneously taking Omar Marmoush from Manchester City. Meanwhile, Arsenal buys Ezri Konsa, and Carlos Baleba demands an immediate transfer to Manchester United. We talk about all this and much more right now. Curtis Jones is officially moving to Inter as he is already flying to Italy, where a medical examination is scheduled for him, with the formal contract signing following right after. Negotiations between the clubs concluded with a total compromise after nearly 8 months of fierce talks that began back in January with a rejected loan query. The overall financial package of the transfer will stand at €35 million, of which €30 million is paid as a fixed sum, with an additional €5 million structured as performance add-ons, while Liverpool additionally retained a 10% sell-on clause for any future resale of the player. The 25-year-old English midfielder will sign a 5-year contract through June 2031, with a salary of roughly €4.5 million per year. Having traversed a lengthy path from a June proposal of €25 million to the final offer, Liverpool agreed to release its academy product due to the remaining 12 months on his deal, alongside Jones's personal desire to secure a guaranteed spot in the starting 11. Ezri Konsa moves to Arsenal. The clubs have fully agreed the transfer of the 28-year-old central defender for the England national team and Aston Villa. The fixed sum of the deal will stand at €60 million plus performance add-ons. Initially, the Birmingham side valued their defender at over €70 million, yet direct dialogue between management on both sides enabled them to find a compromise and close the transfer at an acceptable mark. On Wednesday, Konsa already bid farewell to his Aston Villa teammates and Unai Emery's coaching staff at the training ground. Personal terms of a long-term contract were agreed in advance, and today the player is undergoing comprehensive medical testing in London prior to the official signing of paperwork. Gunners head coach Mikel Arteta personally insisted on signing the 28-year-old Englishman due to a severe crisis in the defensive line. William Saliba injured his back at the World Cup and is out for an extended period, while Jurrien Timber continues recovering from a groin injury. Premier League experience alongside Konsa's versatility, being equally capable of covering positions at the center and right flank of defense, will allow him to integrate into the squad immediately without requiring a lengthy adaptation period. The saga surrounding the move of the 22-year-old Brighton and Cameroon national team midfielder Carlos Baleba to Manchester United has entered its decisive phase. Today, the Manchester side returns to the negotiating table with the Seagulls to deliver the final blow. Manchester United's first attempt, worth €76 million, was rejected, yet bosses from Old Trafford have prepared an improved payout structure featuring an increased guaranteed portion, raising the total financial package to €85 million. This storyline possesses a lengthy backstory. The Red Devils scouting department has been continuously tracking the midfielder since 2023, when he was just beginning to break out at French side Lille. In the summer of 2025, Brighton management erected an insurmountable wall before MU, slapping an exorbitant price tag of €115 million on the player. However, the Manchester side bided its time, while Baleba himself exerted systematic pressure on management all year, demanding to be released specifically to Manchester. As a result, the price dropped by nearly €30 million, and the clubs finally entered constructive dialogue. Currently, the 22-year-old Cameroonian has completely withdrawn from full workload group training and issued an ultimatum to the Seagulls hierarchy. He seeks to complete this transfer immediately. Personal terms on a long-term 5-year contract with the Manchester side are 100% agreed, so Manchester United expects to wrap up all legal details before the end of the week to have the player's registration ready for the next round in the Premier League. Newcastle United has launched active negotiations with Manchester City regarding the signing of 24-year-old Spanish midfielder Nico Gonzalez. The Magpies' new head coach, Matthias Gisel, found himself in a critical situation after the club experienced a genuine personnel drain in central midfield selling Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal and Sandro Tonali to Tottenham. Having lost two key performers in central midfield simultaneously, executive management at Newcastle United made Gonzalez their primary target and is preparing an offer of 60 million euros to provide the German manager with a proven, technical holding midfielder suited to Premier League demands. The Manchester side itself agreed to enter negotiations regarding the Spaniard's sale merely a year after purchasing him from Porto for those same 60 million euros. Gonzalez was acquired as a quality rotation option. Yet Enzo Maresca is building an entirely different positional structure in central midfield. The Citizens manager is seeking a specific profile of a dynamic midfielder, which is why in the season's first official match in the FA Community Shield, he brought Gonzalez on only as a late substitute. For Newcastle United, this transfer represents a chance to acquire a starting holding midfielder already adapted to English football, whereas for Manchester City, it offers an opportunity to fully recoup the 60 million euros spent a year ago and direct those funds toward purchasing reinforcements for the manager's new tactical model. Talks between the clubs sit at an advanced stage, and the player himself views a potential move to St. James's Park positively for the sake of a guaranteed starting spot. As for Manchester City itself, they face a personnel panic in central midfield no less severe than Newcastle's. A few days before the Premier League season kickoff, the Citizens found themselves needing to urgently rebuild central midfield. Enzo Maresca found himself in a difficult spot after key performers like Rodri, who moved to Barcelona, Bernardo Silva, and Tijani Reinders left the squad, while Nico Gonzalez sits half a step from a transfer to Newcastle United, as we just detailed. The sole major reinforcement in central midfield currently remains the arrival of Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest for 135 million euros. However, Manchester City has long held negotiations regarding 18-year-old Lille Moroccan midfielder Ayoub Bouadi, and the transfer fee between the clubs has been fully agreed, with this deal worth 100 million euros, practically sitting on the home stretch. A minor delay regarding the official announcement is tied purely to banking bureaucracy and installment schedules. The French side demanded the majority of the fee up front in a single payment, whereas the Manchester side agreed installments spread over 3 years. Personal terms on a 5-year contract with Bouadi himself have long been fully agreed, and Lille head coach Davide Ancelotti directly confirmed the move will happen, so the player is simply awaiting final documentation to fly out for his medical. In parallel, Maresca strongly wished to see Enzo Fernandez in his squad, and the Citizens held active negotiations with Chelsea. However, because relations between the clubs deteriorated significantly over Maresca's controversial move from London to Manchester, Blues management is negotiating extremely toughly and issued a strict ultimatum: payment of the full release clause of 140 million euros in a single installment before a strict internal deadline. Manchester City simply could not accept such conditions, as they cannot yield to ultimatums. There are a full 115 reasons for that, and it would also prove difficult under financial fair play rules, though Maresca still retains Enzo on his short list, and contacts between the clubs regarding a potential move continue regardless. Confronted by this deadlock in talks with the Londoners, the Citizens urgently approached Crystal Palace regarding 22-year-old Adam Wharton. However, Eagles bosses responded with a flat refusal, declaring that the Englishman is not for sale in this transfer window. So, what do we have in total? Manchester City is closing the deal for Ayoub Bouadi, yet due to blocked avenues for Enzo and Wharton, finds itself under colossal time pressure on the eve of the Premier League opening match. Tottenham sits half a step from completing a historic deal and closing one of the loudest transfers of the summer, sitting in the final stage of talks with Manchester City regarding the acquisition of 22-year-old Brazilian winger Savinho. A deal featuring a fixed sum of 93.3 million euros plus 6.7 million euros in performance add-ons will bring the total financial package to 100 million euros, making the Brazilian the most expensive sale in the history of the Manchester club and surpassing the previous record of Julian Alvarez. New Spurs manager Roberto De Zerbi is conducting a major attacking overhaul and insists on bringing in a winger tailored for his new project. In parallel, the Londoners are working on signing Cody Gakpo for the flanks, alongside 27-year-old Egyptian forward Omar Marmoush for central attack, who gave a green light to the move for the sake of consistent pitch time outside the shadow of Erling Haaland, while Pedro Neto and Nicholas Jackson are considered on the backup shortlist. In response to Savinho's departure, Manchester City instantly entered the South American transfer market to cover the right winger position with 22-year-old left-footed Palmeiras winger Alan Elias. Despite the player's contract featuring a release clause worth 100 million euros, the actual expected deal sum between the clubs is evaluated in the range of 30 to 40 million euros. Alan himself has already agreed personal terms with the Manchester side, is exerting pressure on management at the Brazilian club, and insists on fulfilling his dream of playing in the Premier League